Game of Life training.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Aaron David Spiegel with Game of Life Training here on your drive live at 5. No jive. Today, what I'd like to talk about is actually what I'd like to do is go over something a little different than normal if I can make this happen. So, Greg Braden has been an influence for me. He's current, he's now, and he's studied all kinds of different stuff. He's he talks about Sanskrit and ancients and our human spirit, like divine law, all kinds of good stuff. And Lewis Howes has created what he's called, or what is called, the school of greatness, I believe. um but I've watched quite a bit of his stuff too, and he'll bring in all kinds of experts, and they talk about whatever. I mean, he's a current guy again, but he's more like a podcaster, and Greg Braden is more like a researcher, and he's a biologist. And anyway, so but they're both really good. The whole video I linked into the description, so you can check it out there. But I'm just going to go over parts I was watching. I never did make it through the whole thing because it's long, but I just was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to talk about this stuff because it's pertinent in our life. And the more you know, the better you do, and the better you do, the better for you. So let me see if I can pull this up, and I'm going to give it a try. Let me know if I lose audio. What happened? That's not it. Okay. So here we go.
Powers that be will stop at nothing to distract us and keep us diverted. Nations will go to war with nations. Economic systems will be collapsed. Pandemics will be unleashed. Climate will be engineered. Nations will rise and fall, all in an effort to distract us.
Wow.
Because we are the problem.
So if you recognize any of what he's saying, it all seems to be happening now. But there's like, this is his reasoning for why, I think.
The human body is the prize because our humanness is the link to our divinity. This is why I began talking about an ancient battle. There's an ancient battle between good and evil. And evil means different things to different people. But the ultimate evil is to shield a human from their divinity. When we are kept from our divine nature, our ability to love fearlessly, to forgive, to heal, to imagine, to innovate, to create, that is a form of evil. And that's a form that is playing out right now. And this 2030 window of time is the window of time when it is proposed that our humanness, our biology, be replaced.
Wow.
With technology, with AI, with computer chips, chemicals in the blood that mimic the systems that we do with synthetics, computer chips in the brain, linking us to the computers now. And it's a very different way of thinking. Now, I'm a system.
So if you follow any of this stuff anyway, and Elon Musk created Neuralink, I don't know if he did or not, but he's representing it. He's the face of Neuralink. So if you know Elon Musk and Neuralink essentially it's a chip that you put into your brain, and it's being used. I think the first, I'm not sure when, but the first implant was within the last year, I want to say, on a human. So it's essentially, it connects you to the internet and connects you to everything. So I'm going to listen to more, but I wanted to just touch on that.
Systems thinker. So I look at the big picture so that I understand where the nanosecond of my life fits into that big picture. And then I let it go. We don't have to know any of this, but I want people to know that what we're seeing, it's not a crazy world. It's insane. It's not crazy. There is a method. There's a system. There's a process. And it won't last forever. It's this little window of time where you're seeing the powers that be jockey for position. And our humanness is a problem.
Wow.
Because we are such powerful beings. And nobody's telling our kids that. Our kids are being told that they're flawed forms of life, that they need something outside of themselves to be the best version of themselves and to compete in business and compete in the world. So our kids are willing.
So what's crazy is, and the parents go along with it unintentionally, like, right, unaware. We're just going along, but the kids are a different generation than us, and we're a different generation than our parents. And so the TV is a huge influence, the school system is a huge influence, the church is a huge influence. And over time, little by little, we've been altered in our experience so that we have been led to believe certain things to be true. And today's society is crazy, right? I mean, you have to know that, and you can look at that and realize that, the stuff that is being taught and condoned is really not, it's kind of like anti-human. I mean, it's no good for anybody. People are so, caught up in work that they have to send their kids to school, and then they're working for the dollar, which, if you know anything about the Federal Reserve System, that, I mean, kind of explains the dollar. And then it's like this loop cycle of energy that we're giving out as a whole. And, but the great thing is we have technology today that we can share the information with other people. So this is like, I'd say, the precipice of a huge, huge awakening for a lot of people, because the information runs rampant and it really can't be stopped. It can be spread faster than it's ever been spread before. And, it's only a matter of time before we lose access to that potentially, or we just literally get plugged in and we're programmed exactly what to think, losing our consciousness, which is really what makes us human, which is really what makes us individual, at least feel individual. I don't know, maybe they can program that in too. Let's keep going.
To give themselves away to virtual reality, to computer chips. I mean, I had some young people in one of my courses earlier. It was in the summer, and we were talking about Neuralink, the chip that the FDA just approved from Elon Musk. This is his company, and it allows a human without any wires at all to communicate directly with the hard drive on their computer. And so here's these young kids in the room. They're saying, "This is cool." They're saying, "Mr. Braden." And I said, "No, please, Greg." And I said, "Okay, Greg." I said, "I'm only 70. I'm not a Mr. Braden yet." They said, "Are you telling me that all I have to do is put a computer chip in my brain and I can play Grand Theft Auto with no wires,
No
I can
controls.
think, no controls? Sweet." Or there's some other words they use, but
Right,
sweet,
right.
sweet was a lot of it, because they don't realize the biological imperative. There is an adage in biology that says, "Use it or lose it." Perfect example. When I was back in the 50s and 60s, I was taught, and you probably were when you were young as well, that we were born with a fixed number of neurons in the human brain. And so this was left.
All right, so I'm going to pause it just for a second, because this is the first time I've done a live analysis or reaction, so I don't know what copyright, how much time you have, or so I have it sped up for that reason. Anyway, hopefully you can get what's being said there, but I'll go back to it.
Leverage in college. When you're in college, every beer you drink, you're going to lose some neurons, so you better not drink too many beers. This is what they're saying. But now we know, up until the last breath, the hippocampus in the human brain is creating new neurons. But there's a catch. Every time those neurons are created, they must be engaged in a meaningful way within about 7 days, or they will atrophy and die. So that is true for all the systems in the body. We are a biological system that works on demand. If we don't use our systems, then they begin to atrophy. So you begin to replace the human brain with computer chips. Or here's a study, an actual study that was done. Young kids, 3, 4, 5 years old, get up in the morning, they eat their bowl of Cheerios or whatever it is. Their parents sit them on the floor with an AI visor.
Even eating a bowl of Cheerios, you got to know, is not good. GMO foods, check into that. I mean, there's so much going on that people are just uh, complacent. Seriously, like, it's time to open your eyes, wake up, do what you can do, at least your little part. Your pocketbook speaks, so don't buy things that are ridiculous. Talk to local. It starts at the ground up, so talk to local people, and develop local communities, start growing food, start trading natural stuff. Basically, it takes all of us, and you have to do your own little part. Bring awareness to people that are ignorant, because it's not their fault they're ignorant. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe they're an idiot too, but they've been programmed that way, as you have been. And there was a certain time that you woke up and said, "Wait a minute, something's not right here." So realize that for them and approach it like that. I'm going to go ahead and keep going though.
And they leave them there for a few hours. Here's what's happening in that AI world. They're seeing stuff they would never see in their backyard with their
Wow.
friends.
Yeah.
They're hearing sounds. They're seeing images, colors. And what has happened, this has gone on long enough now that psychologists are able to do the studies. Those young people their physical stature is demented. Their brain size is stunted. Their cognitive development is stunted. Their visual cortex is enlarged because look at what they're doing. They are simply watching rather than engaging in creating. When you and I were kids, I mean, we go out, we take a blanket off the bed.
Bicycle.
This is powerful right here, and I'll go back to it, but I want to let him say what he's saying.
Holes in the
We,
backyard. Yeah.
we make a tent and make a fort, and all of a sudden we've got a fort, and we're using our imagination. They're not doing; they're just watching it all done for them. And so the psychology magazines are actually showing that, and it can all be reversed through epigenetics, so that they're not lost. But it's showing that it's not harmless. There is an impact, there is an effect, and it's another example. When our biology is replaced with technology, the gift of our humanness begins to atrophy in many different ways in one generation. Next generation comes along through epigenetics. Now it's passed down, and the body says, "Oh, we don't do those functions anymore. We used to, but it's a vestige of our past because now we've got a chemical to create the immunity in our bodies, for example." And that's something that's actually proposed, right now. Right now, policies are being written, laws are being enacted to implement many of these technologies in our bodies. And there's a general term for this, Lewis. It's called transhumanism.
Okay, so we'll just take a pause for a second. Transhumanism. Oh, let him finish that.
Simply means beyond, and human is our biology, so it's beyond our biology.
So essentially, that's like plugging into a computer. And I mean, I don't know what to do to stop that really, because I mean, I would say use cash is one thing that you can do. Don't go into a digital currency completely. I don't know about cryptocurrency. I'm not involved in it. Um, but I really, in my opinion, anything that's digital and that you have to rely on that's not physical here, right now, can be manipulated and taken. So I'd say use cash as much as possible. I mean, even when you use cash, you're helping whatever the business is, because when they use a credit card, everything is charged. It's like they take some money and some money and some money and some money. So everybody loses by digital currency and by using these credit apps and things like that. Everybody. Cash is king. They say that for a reason. And I mean, I feel like that's one thing that we can do to hold on to our liberty, our autonomy, because everything else, I mean, digital is traceable too, right? So I don't know. I mean, think about that, what the implications are. And you've seen it play out today. I mean, when people were speaking out against COVID during that time, people were losing their accounts, they were losing their bank accounts. I mean, they didn't have access to their bank accounts. I saw stuff like that happening, and you couldn't even post any. I mean, that's got nothing to do with money, but it does say the digital influence, and it does have to do with money. They were taking their bank accounts and they were taking their accounts that they depended on to make money. So they were taking monetization from people. They were messing with people's money, and that's digital, right? So there's nothing you can do about it on the computer, but there is something you can do it day to day between, your family, friends, community, things like that. It's not just a matter of convenience. It's doing something too. So just think about that. That's all. I'll let him go. Here we go.
And I did an interview recently, and someone asked, I said, well, isn't this a part of our natural evolution? It's not a part of our natural biological evolution. It is a form of a technological evolution that's not good for us. It's not good for us humans because we lose the very essence of what it is that we cherish in our humanity. We lose our ability to love, forgive, sympathy, empathy, compassion. We lose the ability to discern rather than judge. We're taught to judge, but the healing comes from our ability to discern.
Wow.
We lose all of those things when we begin to give our humanness away. So we discovered a whole lot of ground. I'm going to come back. There's a concerted effort right now in these next few years to diminish the power of our humanness. One of the ways that's being accomplished is by us either being encouraged or mandated. Some of the policies will be mandates coming from the UN through our United States Congress. They're going the legal route to accept technology into our bodies to replace our humanness. When we do that, we relinquish that precious, ancient, and sacred gift that we were given when the first of our kind stepped onto this planet 200,000 years ago. We've only been here 10,000 generations.
Wow.
200,000 years, not that long. And we were given these abilities given to no other form of life. And now we're being taught and indoctrinated to believe that we are flawed. powerless victims of a world that we have no control over and that we need something outside of us. So the flip side of this now, in the new science, and this is exciting, is showing us, wow, that we are literally a highly advanced, technologically sophisticated, soft technology.
This is pretty awesome. I mean, this is really getting into using your own thoughts and your own words, and the ability to create and have an experience and have a this is our ability right now. We can do it. We can choose it. It seems anyway, right? I call it the illusion of choice. I'm not sure if it's actually a choice that we have, but it's a journey that we're going through, and we can only make the best choice at that time at all. And the choices we make determine wherever we go. So, you know, those choices are only it's like you can't choose different at the time. I mean, it's kind of deep. Most people don't understand it, but hopefully I explained it. Anyway, let's keep going.
Neurons. One of the reasons that science is beginning to think of us, maybe some of your guests have talked about this, is that we've been conditioned to think of our biology as this soft, gooey, sticky, wet stuff, inside the cells. And that is one way of thinking of us. But now scientists are looking at us from a perspective of information technology. These are IT perspectives. And so the discoveries, they're not showing up in biology books. They're showing up in engineering journals like IEEE, and these engineering. Who's reading those? I mean, my community's not reading.
Sure.
But let me just give you an example. There was the Journal of Advanced Computing Technology, which I don't read, and most of my colleagues don't as well, unless we're researching a book or something. Came out with an article, and it showed that human DNA is literally a fractal antenna, is the term that they use. So what's that mean? We think of antenna as being tuned to something very specific, like a specific TV station or radio station or CB station or whatever. Fractal antenna are receiving multiple signals from a broad spectrum of bandwidths simultaneously. We're pulling in information from the world around us all the time across this broad spectrum, and then we're transducing it into meaningful signals in our bodies. That's a very different way of thinking of the human body. So I'll just run through this really quick. What the science is showing: 50 trillion cells in the body. Every cell is a micro circuit. It's a gated circuit, is what engineers call it. It's got input, output, all the functions within our cells. They function as transistors, as resistors, as capacitors that are massaging that information.
So did you know this? I didn't. Well, I knew that we're electrical beings, right? But I've not heard it broken down this way. So every cell, which I kind of knew that anyway because everything's connected, but still kind of cool.
Cell has a voltage of about 0.07 volts. So, well, that's not very much, but you do the math. 50 trillion times 0.07 is over 3 trillion volts of 3.5 trillion volts of electrical potential, which is
In our body.
in our bodies. Now, we don't actualize it all the time, but what if you could harness that
Wow.
for your own healing, or to optimize cognition, optimize whatever it is we're going to do in our lives? But it doesn't stop there, because we're receiving photons of information. We're transmitting photons of information. We already said the DNA in our bodies, our DNA stores information. And let me just use the terminology and see if you've heard this before. The DNA in our bodies stores every successful genetic transaction in our species in a way that's transparent, it is immutable, and it's secure. And if that sounds familiar, it should, because that is the basis for what is the new financial system of the world, the decentralized financial system we call blockchain technology. Blockchain technology mimics the way information is stored in the DNA of our body.
Really?
He said all technology. This is a good video. I haven't watched it to this point still. I watched earlier and I just popped in on where I was. So I had seen part of it and I haven't seen this part. But it's pretty cool. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm not going to keep going because if you want to watch the rest of the video, go there. But I just wanted to try this as a live, and it's so cool. So I appreciate you watching, sharing, because it's up to all of us. That's what I'll say. It takes all of us. With that being said, I'm going to tell you guys goodbye. Give yourself a break, forgive yourself, love yourself. I'm becoming happier, healthier, wealthier every day. I'm becoming a better person every day. I'm becoming more aware of my thoughts every day. I'm becoming more grateful every day. I'm loving myself more every day. Whatever. With that being said, you have a choice to think. Once you have a choice to think. So choose your thoughts. And one of those thoughts, let it be, Make it your best day ever.